ultimately he came up short with a couple of missed starts at double at the end. But Wright last night against Hybrex was very, very good.
Through first. Game on.
Now, one thing that Wright has been doing lately is he hasn't really been changing the equipment that much. He's settled with the diamond grip darts, but he's got the different grip now. He's thrown them a little bit more direct with the streamlined flight. He's gone through a couple of different weights of them, but he seems to prefer the lighter version. And I'm not sure whether he's trying to get the darts under each other or over the top of each other or side to side. But I think it's a plan in progress.
Yeah, well, he has flitted between them, and I haven't spoken to Peter about it, but on the Pro Tour this year, he's in the top 6 in the averages list, and he's hitting a lot of 180s. He's hit 60 of them, and he's hitting them regularly as well. Now, for the Premier League, he's been using a heavier dart to try and counteract any drafts or problems in these big arenas, because he feels that they're more stable. And that does mean that it's less likely he's going to hit as many 180s. Even though he's still piling them in the Premier League, it has to be said. I'm not sure what he's decided on here in Leverkusen. Yes, it is a big arena, not to the same extent as we've seen in the Premier League, of course. You know, not 12,000 arena in Berlin as we had on Thursday night.
Well, judging by the look of the dart, it looks like the lighter one.
They look smaller, don't they? And you could fit a few more in there.
It doesn't matter what weight he uses, really. He definitely has got the knack of this new grip on the skinny dart, and
80.
He's playing really well.
62.
He's, of course, in the other half of the draw to MVG, but he's in the same half as Crossy. Single 20 for double 16 for an opening 12 dart leg.
46.
Well,
127 in game.
It could well be. Might need to be for Ross Smith here. Treble 19 and bull required. Not to be.
I've already seen one
55.
Fantastic 127 game shot today from Rob Cross, which really did change that game with Johnny Clayton. A double 8 is a very solid start from Snakebite, and I'm not even sure if he's aware, Dan Dawson, that he didn't make the semis today. He's going down to number 4 in the world.
No, I'm not sure whether he will be aware. Peter doesn't strike me as a player who is overly obsessive about the tables or anything. He does obsess about titles. He does, you know, has his eyes firmly on the prize, and finals aren't good enough. Runners-up spots aren't good enough. Ross Smith piles in a maximum to start leg 2. In fact, the start of 2017, when Peter Wright went on to have the best year of his career, and one of the best years we've seen from anybody in PDC history, picked up double digits in the number of titles he won. He started that year, he threw all his runners-up trophies out. As Ross Smith, 5 perfect darts.
Well, the tail of the tape is this. If Peter Wright makes the semi-finals, but doesn't make the final, he will be on exactly the same money as Gary Anderson, but he will be higher in the rankings because of countback, because he's been playing more recently than Gary has. So it's getting pretty squishy between the places between sort of 2 and 6. And we do want some change up there, because it feels like the Michael van Gerwen statue that is world number 1 isn't going to change anytime soon.
Yes, Michael van Gerwen could stop playing for a number of months and still be number 1 in the world. Treble 17 and ball loves this checkout, Peter Wright, but he cannot produce it here, and Ross Smith can break back immediately.
57.
Is Ross Smith a treble 15 man or a treble 19 man?
We're about to find out.
Double 5 man is what he's hoping.
80.
Not to be.
Can't afford to have those misses. Just ask Kim Hybrecht after the last game of last evening's session, and Wright was pouncing last night with some excellent doubling. And he's just checking. I think the flight is obscuring that treble. Just wanted to make sure, and that's a good thing to do if you're not sure. Last thing you want to do is go for the wrong thing. But the right thing is double 16.
That is the right thing, a 64 checkout, and that is a leg there where Ross Smith started with 5 perfect darts, and because he missed the one dart he was able to get at the outer ring, Peter Wright just stepped in, cleared it up and went 2-0 up.
140.
They are demoralising for you.
I was going to ask you, Dan, I know you're a fan of 80s stuff, aren't you?
I mean, it was all right. It was a confusing and strange
55.
time, the 80s.
Well, of course, we've been talking a lot about the 80s. You know, when we come to Germany, it's like being in the 80s most of the time. I always wondered where Peter Wright got his inspiration for the snakebite image. And I
100.
thought that it was a band called Zigzag Sputnik. Do you remember those?
No.
They were very famous for a song that was in the soundtrack to Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh,
And
right, okay.
They were noted for their Mohican haircuts.
Right, okay.
I thought he got it from that, but I have never asked him.
Well, there we go. That's, we're going on a little 1980s culture tour for
60.
you with Paul Nicholson. I mean, admittedly, look, I was born in late 1982. Like, you know, I was a child.
Well, you'd be young enough to remember things like, well, Keith Houchin's diving header in the 87 FA Cup final against Tottenham. One of the best goals in FA Cup finals. You would have been, what, 5?
This is turning into one of the do you remember the 80s shows with Paul Nicholson, just a talking head.
Well, you've got to remember the 80s for darts.
100.
That was its first golden age with the likes of Bristow and Bob Anderson, who was world champion in 88. Who can forget that year? The year when we found out that pointing at the board was the coolest thing in the world.
133.
Peter Wright has given himself another opportunity to break. If Ross Smith treble 15 and double 18, that's his route. Oh, it does go. Good stuff from Smudger. Gets on the board.
Let Peter to throw first. Game on.
Vital that he doesn't let Peter Wright get away from him.
Yeah, shots like that are proof of how sharp you are right now. And you've got to be against Snakebite.
100.
He may not be playing at the level he was playing at 2 years ago, where he was picking up 5 European Tour titles in a season, but he's still very, very good right now.
134.
Well, the European Tour can do strange things, can't it? Because, you know, we've seen from Joe Cullen. Yes, I know he lost to Mentor Suljovic, but he lost with an average in the very high 90s, and that's stuff that he's not really been doing on the tour very much. It could well rejuvenate Joe Cullen this year. But Peter Wright, these Euro Tour stages, it's often where we've seen him produce his most devastating stuff. You know, he's beaten Van Gerwen 6-0 in the Euro Tour final. He's won 6 of these Euro Tour titles, 4 times a finalist in the European Darts Open. And the support he gets here in mainland Europe is absolutely astonishing. The Dart Show are here filming this weekend, and there's a significant chunk of fans out there. You ask them who they're here to see, it's not Michael Van Gerwen, it's Peter Wright. That's why they're singing his name, that's why they've got all the hairdos out there.
Well, you can't exactly miss him.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, he's wearing a pair of trousers that look more like a Monet painting. That leaves 96. That almost left double 18. But that's a lovely little gather on that dart. I think that's the kind of dart he's searching for, a la Phil Taylor when he was using long, skinny darts with a streamlined flight. Very similar to what he's using there, just to sneak it over the top.
Well, he is a player, Peter Wright, who does stubbornly stay on the treble 20, and it does mean in those situations he's quite happy to work around what looks like it might be a blocker dart, but often it just seems to be a help to him, and that 13 darter is certainly a big help. 3-1 to Snakebite, and the average is way up there, around about 106. There, you said neat and tidy stuff, that, isn't it? 13, 15, 15, 13. Beautiful.
Yeah, it makes good reading. And what's really encouraging for Peter is that first 9. When he's around about that 120 mark, that's where he wants to be, to compete with the Cross and the Van Gerwens, because they are constantly going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. A strange statistical quirk. You go on there, there's a website called Live Darts Data. It's the PDC's official scoring system. And it'll tell you the averages for each dart. And often it's quite good to know how, the first dart of a player is very often a good guide to how well they're playing. You get the first dart right, everything gets easier. Peter Wright's only averaging 26 with his first dart. He's averaging 40 with the other two. Just goes to show you that Peter Wright, even when his first dart isn't very good, he's able to work around it, to go over the top, underneath, left or right, find a new bed and pin that.
Yeah, I remember watching the World Cup last year, and there were some alarming statistics for darting splits. I think there was something very similar to that. With I forget who it was, but somebody was averaging 24 for the first dart and something like 47 with the third.
Ridiculous.
93.
But he has given himself an opportunity with this scoring to break the Ross Smith throw again. He has beaten him 3 of the 4 times they played. And a bullseye here, is it treble 18?
145.
He's looking at the ball, but he'll come back looking at 65. Because Ross Smith is doing pretty much what he did against Simon Whitlock and Ricky Williams. He's averaging around about that 93 mark, which is solid, but it's not enough against Peter Wright at the minute.
Yeah, solid is not going to get it done against Peter Wright when he's in this sort of mood. No thinking of treble 11 at all. Might need this. Clinical. Get the chance, take it. Doesn't matter whether it's with dart 2 or 3. And he gets himself that 3 to cushion. Another breaker throw, and Smudger has a lot to think about.
A lot to think about, and not much time to turn this around. Now, look, Rob Cross did come from 4-1 down to beat Johnny Clayton, but at the time Rob Cross was averaging over 100. It was just that Johnny Clayton kept on going out when Rob Cross was waiting to pin a double himself in the early part of the game, and as soon as he missed, Rob Cross was there and just swept past him. 5 legs on the spin. Now Ross Smith is not in that position at the minute. He's not playing poorly, but he's not playing at the level that Peter Wright is playing. This could well be the biggest average we've seen in the tournament so far. So 105.74 from Cross this afternoon. It was similar from Krzysztof Ratajski in yesterday's victory against Michael Smith.
140.
I know that Michael's not going to be distracted tonight when the Netherlands play against Germany. But he was rather comical with his interview earlier, wasn't he, about how he really wanted to watch the match. And I know that Peter Wright has no thoughts about that match whatsoever. All he wants to do is lift the trophy, and he's doing everything right now. Every time I look at that little number to the right of his score, it's either 9 or 12, and he's well inside that finishing zone. But can Ross Smith do what Rob Cross did earlier by getting 5 treble 18s and double 16? He might not even get a shot at it.
He might not, because it'll be 12. And no, he's gambling, and it pays off because it's gone at double 16. Oh, Peter Wright is just doing what he wants right now. Ross Smith, the 162 means absolutely nothing. Peter Wright nonchalantly ignoring the 12 and ball route.
190.
You get it right, it looks very good.
Are we, I'm looking at the standard of darts throughout the whole afternoon, Dan, and indeed the whole weekend, but particularly now, are we at a point in the season where all of the rust has been polished off and the guys are in really good nick, but they're still a little bit fresh? They're not tired at all. I think we're at a point now where we're seeing the real contenders coming to the top.
Well, certainly, I mean, look, you'll know far better than I about how darts players feel at this point of the season. But certainly talking to them and interviewing the players, almost universally, the top players, Wright, Cross, Van Gerwen, they are relishing. They're relishing the start of the European Tour. They are relishing being part of the Premier League. They all genuinely think that something really special is on the end of their fingertips, and if they just get the rub of the green, then a title is theirs. Dave Chisnell's absolutely loving life at the minute. I know he's got beaten heavily by James Wade today, but he's playing fantastically.
108.
Ross Smith is looking at 108.
To deny Peter Wright a 170 shot for the match. Now, this would be an exclamation mark in bold, italic and underlined.
Darrell Gurney has just won 6-0 against Dimitri Vandenberg to make the quarterfinals. He awaits the winner of this one.
Shouldn't have moved, Peter. He went to the left and the dart went to the left.
Halves his score. Ross Smith has halved his score with his first dart. So only gets one at double four. Holds his nerve.
Peter to throw first. Game on.
Yeah, you just never know. He gets that shot there. There's no guarantee that Peter is going to come out of the traps again, but the way he's been playing, you do expect it. Ross Smith hanging in there by the skin of his teeth.
100.
Yeah, a ton right now for Peter Wright is a bad score because he is just hitting whatever he wants, pretty much.
Speak to people who have been defeated on a European Tour stage. If you're in good form like Ross Smith is, and let's say he does get beat here, the worst feeling is that you're not going to go up there again. It's just horrible because you do enjoy it so much.
57.
Great atmosphere here in Germany, no matter where we go. Same for the likes of Denmark, Netherlands, Czech Republic this year. I'm sure will be absolutely off the hook. But it's that feeling that,
96.
oh, I'm not going back up there. It's rather depressing.
Well, you want to make the most of it, don't you? You know you're playing well. You know that special things can happen. Give me a chance. Let me at him.
All you ever want is one dart to win the title. And it's not about the money. It's not about the rankings. It's about the opportunity. You've lost the opportunity to win the title.
60.
Well, for a change, Peter Wright isn't down to a finish after the first 3 visits in a leg, but he's going to be after the first 4.
Little squint there as if to say, all right, where's this one going? Over the top?
100.
Too much juice on it. Crowd, phenomenal order on a Sunday, as usual. More of a family atmosphere on a Sunday afternoon as opposed to the melee that is a Saturday night.
Well, Peter Wright, he took out this finish, I believe, in the first leg against Kim Huybrechts last night. Not going to take it out in what would have been the last leg against Ross Smith here. And there's a chance that Smudger could break here and get himself back into this match. The 85 has already gone. Sorry, he had a go at the 85 and missed double 5. Now he gets 2 at double top. Ooh, pulled it down.
75.
Fractions.
PT require 100.
He might only need 2 darts for this. Interesting to see where he goes. Well, that's the one he didn't want. And he didn't get a song like that from Olivia Newton-John.
Rota required 10.
Double 5 then. Looking to go straight at it. Yeah, very good. Very good, Ross Smith. Now, this game is not over. It was looking like it might be a procession for the stupendous Peter Wright, averaging closer to 110 than 100 for the majority of this game. But that has dipped quite alarmingly with those missed darts.
121.
And a bit of aggression from Ross Smith. He believes he can turn this around.
Yeah, he's grafting all right. He believes. He knows he's only got 3 more legs. Easier said than done, of course. I was talking to Ross
43.
at breakfast this morning, and I walked up to him and said, "How's your neck, Ross?" He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "That celebration against Whitlock yesterday was a bit animated. You look like you hurt your
59.
neck." And he said, "Actually, it did tweak a little bit."
Yeah,
But he asked me if there was anything wrong with being that aggressive, and I said, au contraire. That's what we want to see. We want to see passion and willingness to win. It was a great performance from Ross yesterday against Whitlock. Hasn't been an easy track for him to get here. He's had Chris Dobie in his way, Conan Whitehead, and Whitlock, as well as Ricky Williams, even though Ricky didn't really turn up. But then again, Ricky did enter, which is what Max Hopp did not.
Yes. Max Hopp will find it very difficult to add to his tally of PDC senior ranking titles if he does not enter the tournament.
100.
Don't worry, we will be seeing Max Hopp on the Euro Tour this year. We might be be seeing Ross Smith in the final session of action at the European Darts Open at this rate, because he really is
100.
digging deep.
Peter Wright's got to get urgent here. It's almost like he's looking to fall over the line as opposed to running up past it.
Ah, here we go. Running shoes on. And sprinting for the line.
41.
Treble 20 first darts. Treble 15 for Ross Smith. Double 18 for a 141. Oh my word.
105.
Well, he's never going to hit it. It's not for a 9
PDC
darter.
requires 78.
But that was a real scare for Wright. Now he has it in his own hands, something a lot more doable than 170 or 100. To get this done, it'll be 20 in tops. Tops to get it done.
And Peter Wright does get the job done. 180 followed by a 78 checkout. And he manages to fend off Ross Smith, who was threatening to put together another comeback at this European.